So you're on your way to becoming an emergency or critical care nurse. You're going to be an expert at treating injuries, right? But here's the thing. The best clinicians, they don't just treat what they see, they predict what they can't see. And that's where the mechanism of injury, or MOI, comes in. This isn't just some background detail. It is your #1 most critical diagnostic tool. It lets you see the invisible damage that's been done to your patient.
Think of it like this. Every single trauma patient who comes through those doors has a story, and the MOI is the first, most important chapter. This mangled car, it's not just a statistic. It's a set of clues. The forces that twisted this metal also did something to the person who is inside. And your job is to read that story, to become a detective and anticipate the plot twists before they happen.
Okay, so why do we care so much about this? Because the MOI is basically your forensic toolkit. It helps you develop what we call a high index of suspicion. That's a fancy way of saying that even if a patient looks okay on the outside, the way they got hurt makes you actively hunt for specific life-threatening internal damage. It's all about predicting the unseen based on the raw physics of what happened.
That's exactly right. Before you even lay hands on the patient, you are a detective. The moment EMS radios in and says, 60-mile-per-hour head-on collision, prolonged extrication, your brain should be firing on all cylinders. You should be picturing the immense forces at play and building a list of probable injuries they caused. The investigation starts right then and there.
So let's start breaking down these forces. An injury isn't just an injury, you know? It's the result of a very specific type of energy transfer. If we can understand these categories, we can organize our thinking and make our assessment way more effective.
Now, injuries can be caused by a whole bunch of things, right? You've got radiation, electrical shocks, burns from thermal energy, chemicals, even something like drowning, which is oxygen deprivation. But honestly, the lion's share of trauma cases you are going to see are caused by plain old mechanical forces. We're talking car crashes, falls, gunshots, the works. So for this explainer, we're going to focus right there.
Within mechanical trauma, there are really two main players on the field. First, you've got blunt trauma. This is all about impact and deceleration. Think car crashes, bad falls. The key here is the skin isn't necessarily broken, but the damage underneath can be absolutely devastating. And then you have penetrating trauma. This is where something like a bullet or a knife actually breaks the skin barrier. Both are incredibly dangerous, but they leave behind very, very different sets of clues.
All right, let's dive deep into blunt trauma first, mostly because it's the most common and, frankly, often the most deceptive. This is all about the physics of what happens when a massive amount of energy gets transferred to the body during an impact.
The big three you'll see over and over again are motor vehicle collisions, MVCs, falls, and contact sports. Now, we're going to focus a lot on MVCs because the forces involved are just so complex. But never forget, a fall from just 15 feet can create similar killer injuries, and a brutal tackle in football can bruise or tear an organ, just like hitting a dashboard.
So when that NBC patient is rolled in, these are your detective questions. You need to know, how fast were they going? Speed equals energy. Were they wearing a seatbelt? It can save a life, for sure, but it can also leave its own calling card of injuries on the chest and abdomen. Did the airbag go off? Where were they sitting? Driver? Passenger? How bad does the car look? All of these clues help you build a mental picture of the forces their body just absorbed.
Okay, time for a quick pop quiz. Let's test this out. You've got two patients coming in. One was in a 25-mile-per-hour fender bender. The other was in a 60-mile-per-hour rollover crash that required a prolonged extrication. Which patient are you more worried about? It's the rollover, of course, and it's not even a close call. Why? Well, the speed is way higher, which means exponentially more energy transfer. A rollover means multiple impacts from all sorts of crazy angles. And that phrase, prolonged extrication, that's a huge red flag. It tells you the car was so mangled the patient was trapped, just soaking up all that force. Your index of suspicion for that patient should be through the roof.
Now, let's talk about the real silent killer in blunt trauma, deceleration. Here's how it works. The car hits a tree and stops instantly. The person's body flies forward and is stopped by the seatbelt or the dashboard. But what about their internal organs? Well, they keep moving at 60 miles per hour until they either slam into the inside of the body or tear away from the tissues that hold them in place.
And to put that in perspective, just check out this number. For a 130-pound person crashing at 60 miles an hour, the force that their organs experience is estimated to be around 7,800 pounds. That's literally the weight of 2 cars. Now just imagine that kind of force being applied directly to your aorta or your liver. It's just staggering.
And this is a brilliant illustration of where that damage is most likely to happen. See, certain organs are tethered or kind of anchored in place. The descending aorta, for instance, is attached right here by the ligamentum arteriosum. During a massive deceleration, the mobile part of the aorta swings forward while this fixed point acts like an anchor. The result is a shearing force that can literally tear the aorta in half, a catastrophic injury that's often fatal on the scene.
Okay, let's switch gears and move to our other big category, penetrating trauma. Now, if blunt trauma is all about hidden damage from widespread forces, penetrating trauma is about the focused, and often incredibly misleading, path of destruction that an object carves through the body.
This quote says it all. You have to burn this into your brain. Never, ever, ever be fooled by a small entry wound. A tiny little hole on the skin can be hiding a devastating path through multiple organs, major blood vessels, you name it. The outside story is almost never the whole story.
And these X-rays show that deception perfectly. On the left, you see a single bullet in the chest. Your job is to try and imagine its path. What did it hit on the way in? Now look at the arm on the right, which was hit by a shotgun. The entrance wound might just be one hole, but look inside. It's dozens of little pellets, creating this wide cone of destruction. This is exactly why you can never judge the injury by the hole in the skin.
And here's why a high-velocity bullet is so incredibly destructive. It's not just the hole it pokes. As it travels through tissue, it creates this massive shockwave and a temporary cavity that can stretch up to 30 times larger than the bullet itself. This phenomenon, called cavitation, stretches, crushes, and tears tissue that's nowhere near the bullet's actual path. It's why a single gunshot wound to the abdomen can end up damaging nearly every organ in there.
So whether we're talking blunt or penetrating, that initial injury kicks off this really complex chain of events in the body, and understanding the typical timeline of when trauma patients are most at risk of dying is crucial for knowing what to watch for and when.
This is called the bimodal distribution of trauma death. It sounds complicated, but it just means that deaths aren't spread out evenly. They tend to cluster in two main peaks, or waves. The first peak happens right away, in the minutes to the first 48 hours after the injury. The second peak happens much later, often days or even weeks into their ICU stay.
The things that cause death in that first peak are the direct result of that initial mechanical injury. We're talking about massive, uncontrollable bleeding or a truly devastating traumatic brain injury. Pretty much everything we do in the trauma bay, stopping the bleed, protecting the brain, is aimed at getting our patients through this first deadly peak.
But if a patient survives that initial onslaught, they enter the second peak. And here, the cause of death totally shifts. It's no longer the injury itself, but the body's overwhelming inflammatory response to it. This is where complications like sepsis and multiple organ dysfunction syndrome, or MODS, can take over. This is the long, hard battle that's fought in the ICU.
So, let's bring it all back home. That first report you get from paramedics, it's so much more than just a patient's history. It is a predictive tool. It's the key that unlocks your ability to anticipate a torn aorta from deceleration, a lacerated liver from a seatbelt, or widespread internal chaos from a single bullet. Knowing the mechanism is your first and most powerful clue. Use it.